Start with Iran, and oh, it's so far away. Muhammad, I'm sorry, I popped myself a little bit with that one. Muhammad, I popped myself more than I thought. Muhammad Mosaddegh, Bobby Mosaddegh. You're supposed to catch those things, but I'm catching them for you. Mosaddegh was a newly elected prime minister of Iran, progressive, and he had one simple philosophy: what belonged to Iranians should be given to Iranians. But that's not how colonization works, and I don't know if anyone explained to him how colonization works. The British and the Americans didn't see it that way. The Anglo-Iranian company was in control of all the oil of Iran. And the Iranians weren't getting necessarily a sweet cut, and not the spicy little nibble. They weren't getting the good stuff, but the British were, and they were getting the oil. The problem with that is, and I think anyone would agree, is if you're producing the stuff, should you not get the bigger cut? Should they not pay more for the luxury of having an oil-rich country like Iran go, you can have a little bit of ours? I mean, the Saudi Arabian royal family does that. Right now, Joe Biden's bent over a fucking barrel getting fucked by them every chance they get because they're like, hey, you need oil, we got it, bam, 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 pay for this, dog, pay it at this rate. That's why you're paying for so much at the gas pump. Do you see how we tie in history to the present? That's why people listen to this show, dude. I'm really convinced people listen to this show because we make the connections. I could be wrong. Maybe I'm overcompensating what we do here, but hey, if you don't believe in yourself, who's gonna? But Mosaddegh believed in himself. He believed in the Iranian people. So he went over to them very humbly going, hey, Anglo-Iranian company, can we please renegotiate this deal? And what do you think happened? The same thing that happens when you renegotiate. And what did you think happened? The same thing that happens when you renegotiate with your boss. They said, fuck off. And to be fair, the Iranians kind of had to fuck off a little bit because they didn't have the military the British had or the Americans had. But Mosaddegh was not the fuck off type. And that's what I respect. We don't talk about this enough, not being the fuck off type. Many people are fine with being the fuck off type. They're very comfortable with going, well, I was told no, I guess I'll just continue being a fucking loser, but not Mosaddegh. And that's what I respect. Me and him got something in common. We refuse to lose, even though it will someday cost us our lives. Mosaddegh says, well, fuck it. Since you're going to do that, I'll just nationalize the company and take the money that's owed to me, bitch. And you gotta respect that level of gangster, right? And not gangster in the traditional sense of criminality. Gangster ass confidence. He looked at them and said, fuck off. I'm taking back what's ours. And that's not a bad thing to do. Should a country not own its own resources? Should a country not benefit from its own resources? Now, some people say, well, what about the people who will be in the UK? And they would be, cold during the winter. Move. That's the way I look at it. You're living in the fucking United Kingdom. That place seems boring as shit. It seems kind of miserable if you ask me. I've never seen anyone tell me they lived in the UK and they were happy about it. They don't even have a cuisine, those people. But the Iranians have a cuisine. So to me, if you are the better culture, you should automatically get access to your resources. That's going to be a tricky word for me tonight, it seems. So what happens? Well, what Mosaddegh didn't realize was he pissed off the Americans in a way. Because he pissed off the one law firm you didn't want to piss off at this time. Want to take a guess which one? Spoiler alert, Alan Dulles used to work for them. Sullivan and Cromwell, baby! Bam, bam, bam. I like going bam, bam, bam. It makes me feel like I'm tough. And I have a shirt and tie on, so I feel like I'm ordering a hit, just like Alan Dulles used to. But, so Mosaddegh had pissed off Sullivan and Cromwell, which is something you didn't want to do back then. So who did they call? They called their boy Alan. Alan, this guy's being a fucking ball buster. It's kind of fucking ridiculous. Like, he's not letting us cheat him out of money. He's not letting us exploit Iran. It's kind of ridiculous, right? What group of brown people, how dare they ask for things that belong to them? These foolish fucks. And Alan said, don't worry, I'll take care of these foolish fucks. And he did. But he knew one thing. The Shah of Iran had been a bit unpopular at the time. People were not fuck with him because there's a thing that happens, I think, when you become a Saudi Arabian royal, or let's just say Arabia royal. They seem to really enjoy human rights violations, and people really take a real hard stance on torturing, killing whoever you want, and robbing from the poor, which certainly a take, but I mean, I can say that here in America. I couldn't say that there. So maybe I'm a hypocrite because I wouldn't be saying any of this over there. But the thing is, they have a long-reaching arm, so maybe they could take me out from over there while I'm over here. You never know. So if I don't show up next episode, it's a good chance I've been killed by some government officials. Find my body, avenge me. But in this particular situation, or this overthrow, they looked at the Shah of Iran and he was not feeling too good. People didn't like him, so he didn't need that negative energy. He went to Rome with his beautiful wife. And that's what you do when you're taking shit from people. You gotta remind the wife you still got money. I can still take you to Rome whenever I want. That helps keep her around. You know, when you're a Shah wife, you're gonna want some nice vacations, nice houses. Have you ever seen the show Shah Sunset? My mom watches that show. I've only seen one episode, but they seem very rich. So he's off in Rome moping about not being liked. Alan Dulles said, well, if we're going to get this thing back on track, we got to get the Shah on board. I'm going to have to lift his spirits. And he lifted his spirits by checking into the same hotel as him in Rome and pulling to a side going, you got to go back. I have to go back. Yeah, you got to go back. Because this guy's making things really difficult for people we're friends with. Oh, I don't know if I should go back. They don't really like me over there. Why wouldn't they like you? There's some things I've done you might have heard about in your intelligence, reports. Are you kidding me? I don't care about that. I was friends with legitimate Nazis, Karl Wolf. And I think we can turn this all around. You just need better PR, baby. We just got to give you what we call the push. The push? The push. I don't know how we say it in Iranian, but we're going to give you the push. I'll believe it when I see it. And boy, did he believe it when he saw it. The only way to stop Mosaddegh was to tear him down. So they did the usual stuff. This guy's corrupt. He's possibly a commie. But they went with a third one, which in the Muslim world carries a lot of weight. He's a homosexual. And holy fuck, did they really hammer on that one. They were like, do you really want a gay running all of this? You don't want a queer prime minister. And to be honest with you, I kind of want a gay president because I feel like at least my president will know how to dress, will know how to eat dinner properly and what forks are which. I don't know any of that. I do want a president that feels more official, more glamorous, if you will. We need to bring back glamorous politicians. Were they ever in style? I don't think Obama was glamorous. He was certainly handsome. Michelle was glamorous. She was something else. Ooh. It's getting a little hot in here. So what did they do? It was very simple. Alan Dulles had learned from his grandpappy that you can overthrow any government you want. Hell, his daddy did it to Hawaii. So now he was in the family business. They found General Zeddy. General Zeddy, real piece of shit. Real friend of the Shah. Some would say they did some of that human rights violation stuff together. They had a lot of fun. And when you're in a tough spot, who do you turn to? You turn to your buddy. You turn to the guy who's got just as much dirt on you as, well, you have on yourself. You call in some favors. Alan Dulles loved seeing the best in people, the high value in people, even torturers and murderers. So he calls in General Zeddy and says, hey, Zeddy, do you want to fucking do a revolution? He's like, I do want to do a revolution. I've got nothing else going on. Then let's get to work. So you got the PR campaign, you got your new guy you're giving up the bigs to, you're giving him victories here and there, you're putting him over. He's on the road to WrestleMania. He's going to be the fucking champion by the end of it, baby. And soon, you gotta start putting over the Shah. So they start putting out really good articles about the Shah. The New York Times even does it. So does the Washington Post, those fucks. So now the Shah's got a positive push. And what's funny is, he worked himself into a shoot. He thought the people of Iran really wanted him back. And can you blame him? The CIA knows how to do propaganda. They learned it from the Nazis, who was friends with Alan Dulles. There we go. We're putting it all together, aren't we? So eventually, Mossadegh's out. They get him out of there, and they decide, well, this guy's got to fucking go. We can't keep him around. The longer he's alive, the more powerful he becomes. You're going to find that this is kind of a threat. But the thing about it is, they knew if we kill this dude, we'd make him into a martyr. And they weren't into that shit. But indirectly, he ended up becoming one for Iran for years. So at 84, he died. But to not honor him, because they didn't really want him to have a place where people can go and gather and pay tribute and remember him fondly, they buried him in his living room. That's how it is, even though he wanted to be buried in a public cemetery. But what did we learn here? Number 1, don't ask for your resources. Number 2, never ask for your resources. Number 3, don't fucking ask for your resources. And Alan was really scared that maybe they'll go to the Russians because the Russians might give them their resources. But there was no evidence to prove that he was ever on the verge of communism other than doing what seems to be an un-American thing, asking for your resources, asking for what you're owed. Did not know that was un-American. But that's how, we can look at it now with modern research. Watch this newsreel where they detail it very, very differently, baby.
Attention is focused once again on the Middle East, where events in Iran have taken a dramatic double twist. Forced to flee his palace in Tehran, the Shah and his queen arrive in Rome after an alleged attempt by the Imperial Guard to arrest Dr. Mosaddegh and a refusal by the Shah to dissolve Parliament at Mossadegh's request. In Tehran, it looked as if Mosaddegh would soon be named president, and on his orders, troops occupied the Shah's palaces and surrounded Parliament. And then the people themselves took a hand.
They were tight.
300 killed and hundreds wounded is a conservative estimate. The rioters freed those taken prisoner earlier and stormed the house of Mosaddegh. Foreign Minister Fatimi gets through. First reports that he was torn to pieces had not been confirmed. Meanwhile, the mob flocked the streets demanding the return of the Shah. Mosaddegh and his government were swept from power in favor of General Zahedi, the man appointed by the Shah in the first place. The thoughts of Britain instinctively turned to Abadan, that monument to British enterprise and engineering skill. Forced to abandon what we had created in the wilderness, is it too much to hope that we shall see once more the tankers of Britain at Abadan? Maybe sanity will yet prevail, and Iran and Britain go forward in harmony.
Apologies for the chime. Bobby doesn't know how to turn off his phone. Anyway, what was interesting is the newsreel was able to fit in a portion where we don't know about the reports of where he was torn apart. You can tell that was when CIA agents just jerking off, like, oh, imagine he gets torn apart. Oh. But that was the overthrow of Iran.